where the races have come down to who places and shows. The jockeying for position really heated up last week.
Neither the Redskins nor the Eagles would seem to have a prayer of catching the Giants. And while the race to place in the NFC East may be just hitting its stride, it was the Eagles' defense that hit everything in sight. The Eagles knocked 4 Redskins out of the game, but a key to a Buddy Ryan defense isn't crushing the body, but the mind. Something a defensive touchdown does most effectively.
Right side. Put Ricky Sanders in motion. Back goes Rutledge. Fires the football. Intercepted. Brazil running up the football and in for a touchdown. William Brazil. So the defense scores first. The ball at the 31. Sanders goes in motion. Rutledge is back. He's hit. He fumbles. The Eagles are after it. Simmons has it. At the 10. At the 5. Touchdown. Hopkins made it.
It was only a matter of time before Philadelphia came up with such a worthy performance. But it was the performance of Heath Sherman which might have been the Eagles' best news. Sherman tied a club record for carries in a game and became the first Eagle in 9 years to have 2 consecutive 100-yard rushing games.
First and goal. Sherman in motion. The pitch goes to Byers. Byers throwing a pass to Sherman. Touchdown!
All in all, the Eagles put on quite a show, and while the NFC East isn't likely to become a horse race, Philadelphia's victory gives them a chance to place. With the Chicago Bears looking to win the NFC Central in a runaway, the race to place is becoming a frantic one. And Packer head coach Lindy Infante is still hoping to steer his team toward the playoffs. But on Sunday, it was the Raiders who got out of the gate in a hurry.
Back, and again the boot. That one's going to be considerably shorter in Holland's direction. He takes it on the 11-yard line, starts up at the 20, accelerates, left side, 25-30, breaks past it out at the 40, cuts it back to the 50, got a chance to go all the way.
Jamie Holland's 87-yard return set up Marcus Allen's second score of the first quarter as L.A. raced to a 13-3 lead. But it was the last touchdown Green Bay allowed, as the Packers limited the Raiders' offense to 165 total yards and ambushed Jay Schrader for 5 sacks. But Green Bay quarterback Don Majkowski didn't have it any better, as he was engulfed by the Silver and Black for 8 sacks. However, the Packers eventually found ways to counter the Raider barrage. Here, running back Vince Workman goes in motion and then slows up Raider defensive end Greg Townsend. Majkowski then play fakes to Michael Haddix, and Workman is left wide open.
Give the ball to play fake to Haddix. Throws it easily to Workman. Touchdown, Green Bay. Boy, the Raiders bought that play fake.
The Raiders bought another in the fourth quarter.
Double tight ends, play fake, bootleg, roll to the right by Majkowski. Raiders not getting near him, going to the end zone. Camp, beautiful catch, touchdown.
Green Bay dealt the Raiders their first home loss under head coach Art Shell. And while the Packers' victory put them back in the playoff race, Tampa Bay looked to keep pace by calling on backup quarterback Chris Chandler, who early on put some much-needed spring in the Bucs' step.
Here's the snap. He'll drop the throw. Looking left. Now he may run with the ball. Chandler still looking left. Directing traffic. He'll run with the ball. To the 5. To the 1. There it is. Touchdown, Tampa Bay.
Wow. Well, the judges are holding up a 9-5. Beautiful score.
Unfortunately, Chandler's near-perfect vault was the only thing the judges would have liked about the Bucs offense, which has now scored just 1 touchdown in each of the past 6 games. Chandler eventually left the game with a concussion and left Vinny Testaverde to suffer at the hands of a relentless Saints pass rush. Number 56, Pat Swilling, recorded 4 of New Orleans' 6 sacks, but the Saints' heaviest hitter was on offense in the form of a 260-pound ironhead.
Hayward, the fullback, and he gets the handoff. Left guard must throw. 40, 30. He's to the 25. May go. 15, 10. He's to the 5. Touchdown.
Craig Hayward's career-high 155 yards rushing helped Jim Moore's squad improve to 4-5. And though the Saints probably have no shot to win a division title, they're still involved in a race to place themselves in the playoffs. And they're not ready to exit the postseason chase just yet.
The Saints started out 1-3 with all sorts of quarterback problems. Now that they've won 2 straight, New Orleans finds himself right in the middle of a playoff opportunity with these 9 other teams fighting for 3 wild card spots. Now, I am going to concede division titles to the 49ers, the Bears, and the Giants, but Chris, of the other teams, now who are you penciling in for those 3 wild card spots?
Well, out of those teams, I like the Eagles and the Redskins, but I really like my Green Bay Packers.
Oh, give me a break. The Green Bay Packers. These are the same Packers that you said would be going down the tubes earlier in the year?
Well, Don Mikowski is finally starting to play like he would have all along if the Packers management hadn't stiffed him and forced him to stay out of training camp all year. But the reason I really like the Packers is the rest of the way they're scheduled, they only have 1 team with a better than 500 record.
Hey, I agree with you on Philadelphia and Green Bay, but the team I like are the New Orleans Saints, and the reason for that, very simple. A great defense, super linebackers, and a new svelte, dashing, iron head Haywood.
Hey, I can agree on 2 of those 3 teams, but how can you pick New Orleans, a team that's been to the playoffs once in the entire history of the franchise, plus the fact that young quarterback is going to be looking at 8- and 9-man defensive fronts, stopping the running game, forcing Walsh to throw the football.
Lenny, that's because the New Orleans Saints now believe in themselves and they're playing like a team.
Rah-rah, high school. All right, here we go. Yeah.
I agree with 2 of yours, but I think the team that I like is Philadelphia. And that is because Buddy Ryan has those people playing for him. They really believe in him. Plus the fact they have a quarterback that doesn't, believe in him. He's already gotten them to the playoff before, and that's Cunningham.
Well, you agree with me? We can pretty well eliminate those teams now. They're out.
Well, I'd say they're all in trouble since we mentioned their names. When hunters and fishermen get their prey to go belly up, they've made their catch. In the NFL, there were teams that went belly up into last place. It has definitely been open season on Lions, Broncos, and Rams.
LT, you're in sunny California. Where are you going after the game? Maybe Lawrence Taylor will have a better answer at the end of January, but so far the Giants have been living in a magic kingdom. And with Disneyland right around the corner Sunday, it seemed appropriate they continue their fairy tale season. As they have done all year, the Giants wore down their opponents with the running of Otis Anderson and the passing of Phil Simms, the NFL's highest-rated quarterback.
Simms comes out on a roll out to the right, throws end zone. Bavaro touchdown.
Mark Bavaro's score paced New York to a 10-0 lead, but Giant fans were hungry for some heavy hitters. So they got a little taste of strawberry and some creaming on both sides of the ball.
Has protection. He's hit. Fumble it. Loose ball. It'll be picked up inside the 20.
Kevin Green's sack and subsequent fumble recovery on the Giants' first possession of the second half helped set up an L.A. score. But for the rest of the day, the NFL's number 2 ranked defense dominated.
Everett deep in the end zone. Throws out of the end zone. Intercepted by Raisins again. Raisins takes the ball to the 20 to the 15. Look what I got here.
Led by Gary Reason's 2 interceptions, New York shut down Jim Everett, while the Rams, who have now given up the most points in the NFL, could do little to halt the Giants' running game.
Simms hands off on a delay. Half to stutter steps. 15, 10, 5, touchdown.
With help from Doug Riesenberg, Rodney Hampton became the only Giant running back other than Otis Anderson to rush for a touchdown in the last 27 games. New York has won a club record 12 regular season contests in a row, while L.A. continues to suffer. Suffer is what the Vikings and Herschel Walker have done this year, as they have taken more abuse than combatants in a Rocky movie. Sunday's story had the same old plot, as the former Heisman winner was boxed in for 45 yards rushing. But Walker wasn't the only Heisman winner to turn in a less than spectacular performance. Barry Sanders was single-handedly halted by Joey Browner, And last year's winner, Andre Ware, made his first NFL start a forgettable one, as he completed just 5 passes for 48 yards before being replaced. Despite their offensive woes, though, the Lions still had a chance to win the game.
On count, Galliano steps right, fires a pass, wide open, Campbell at the 15 to the 10, cuts inside the 5, and takes it in!
Jeff Campbell's first career touchdown brought the Lions to within 3, but with time running out, Bob Galliano threw the ball and the game away.
Reed threw it right to Alnoga. Touchdown, Vikings.
With the loss, Detroit joins the Vikes at the bottom of the NFC Central. Hoping to avoid sole possession of the basement in the AFC West were John Elway's Broncos. And despite an injured left foot, number 7 raced out of the gate on Denver's first possession.
Back goes Elway. He's throwing to the end zone. It's Johnson, touchdown.
Vance Johnson's score gave the Broncos a 7-0 lead, but thanks to a defense that seems to grow better each week, the Chargers were able to contain Elway.
Line of scrimmage is the 10-yard line. Elway from the shotgun back to throw. Here comes the rush. Flushed out of the pocket. Runs to the right. Steps up. Throws to the end zone. Intercepted!
Led by Gilbert's league-leading 6th and 7th interceptions, the Chargers shut out Denver the rest of the game. While on offense, Billy Joe Tolliver's crew continued its mistake-free play. San Diego has turned the ball over once in his last 4 games, and with NFL rushing leader Marion Butts on his way to another 100-yard performance, the Chargers were on their way to a 3rd straight win.
McEwen in motion. The give. Plummer got it. Touchdown, San Diego.
With the linebacker Gary Plummer scoring his 2nd offensive touchdown of the year, the Chargers improved to 500. And if they continue their surprisingly strong play, the sky may be the limit.
The San Diego Chargers have turned things around quickly and dramatically. After a poor 1-4 start, there were rumors that head coach Dan Henning would be replaced. Now, in the last 5 weeks, San Diego has lost only to the Raiders, and they've outscored their opponents 139-58. 4 reasons for their successful turnaround has to go to their 1989 draft picks. First rounder, Bert Grossman, defensive end. Second rounder, Courtney Hall, left guard. Another second rounder, quarterback Billy Joe Tolliver, and the crown jewel of the draft, 7th rounder, Marion Butts. With this fullback leading the league in rushing, the Chargers are 3rd in the NFL on the ground. And Marion Butts now joins Chris on NFL Crosstalk.
Marion, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Chris.
All right. You know, you've really been an amazing story this year. In college, you were a blocking back for Bobby Bowden at Florida State, and now you're leading the National Football League in rushing. Have you been tempted to call Coach Bowden yet to tell him, I told you I could run the football?
Well, no. At Florida State, I didn't really have a chance to run the ball as much because of my size. I was a big back, and Sammy Smith was already situated there as the tailback. So the only thing was left up for me to do was to block and play special teams. So I haven't really been able to call Coach Bowden and tell him.
Well, you know, there's no shame in running behind Sammy Smith. A few weeks ago, when you guys were 1-4, we heard that Alex Spanos was about to fire your coach, Dan Henning. What was the players' reaction to the rumor that your coach was about to be fired?
Well, our reaction was, in the beginning, it wasn't true because Coach Henning is doing such an outstanding job with the coaches here. He came here last year. He did a great job. He prepared us well. He worked with us. He encouraged us to do the best that we can do to win, and to believe that and to get rid of a guy that's doing such a job like that is unbelievable.
Well, since all those rumors, you guys have really turned it around. What are you doing differently now to make as big a difference in your play?
Well, we're mixing up the running and the passing. We're using Billy Joe. He's coming around. He's doing a great job. He's not throwing interceptions. And also, Me and Rod Bernstein is doing a great job at the 1-2 punch, as a lot of people are speculating.
Yeah, there's no question. Everybody knows the Chargers have a great defense and a good running game. But I guess I have to ask you, with Billy Joe Tolliver only completing 50% of his passes, is he good enough to take you guys to the playoffs?
I believe so. He's doing a great job. He haven't thrown any interceptions in like 130-something passes, so he's doing a great job, and I believe he can get the job done.
Let's talk about your schedule the rest of the way a little bit now. 6 of your last 7 games are against division opponents. Which of those teams in your division in the AFC West concern you the most?
The Raiders. Knowing that we have Kansas City twice and Seattle once more, and we have Denver once more, the Raiders played us tough. The Raiders have a great defense, and Art Shell is doing a great job with them up there.
Let me ask you about your organization a little bit. All over the league, people are talking about the job Bobby Beathard is doing with the Chargers. Can a general manager really make that much difference in 1 year?
I believe so. He's came here. He had a direct change. He's a great guy. He's a guy that socializes with the players, really make you comfortable with being around. He's a great guy. He inspires us a lot.
All right, Marion, we appreciate you taking the time to be with us. I know you've got a busy schedule today, and certainly best of luck the rest of the year.
Okay, thank you.
Nick, Lynn?
All right, gentlemen. Nick, can you believe that? The way that guy runs with the football, they didn't give it to him in college?
No, they gave it to Sammy Smith, drafted #1 by the Dolphins. He's just nothing but an average back in the NFL. Marion Butts, they thought he would come into the Chargers and do nothing but block. This guy is tearing the league up running, Lenny.
Hey, if he stays healthy, he's going to be a superstar in this league. You have to be a little crazy to play this game of football, but no one ever said you have to be as crazy as the Bears' Dan Hampton. In this week's cover story, Lisa Burkhardt reports on part Dan and part animal, better known as Danimal.
Soldier Field, one of the few old-time stadiums left in the NFL. It brings to mind many of the muddy, bloody battles out here in the elements by the lake. It also has the history of George Halas, the monsters of the Midway. And soon, this house of tradition will also be remembered for another legendary figure, defensive tackle Dan Hampton. The man they called Danimal is a throwback to another era of football. Hampton is tough, rugged, and willing to play through pain. He's had 10 knee operations, 5 on each knee. The love of the game keeps Dan in there.
I can't wish for better knees. I can't wish for some better shoulders or my neck or anything else. The only thing I've got is what I've got left. And I want to make sure that I use it up. Because I'm not saying that when I get through playing, I want to be crawling and walking and be carried off the field. But I know this, after the game's over and we've won, you don't know the sense of satisfaction that I get. A lot of guys, maybe they don't feel the same, well, they went out and they played. And to me, it's a personal victory each and every time.
Many fear Hampton will end up like so many old-time players, banged up and damaged, like Jim Otto, or limping along like former Chief E.J. Hollop, who's had 15 knee operations himself. Hampton's live-for-today attitude could be traced to his father, Robert, who died when Dan was only 13.
When you lose someone like that, and you realize, and he was a wonderful man. I've been told by hundreds of people what a fine man he was, that nothing is given. And no matter what you think you have or you have as far as the future, it can all be taken away in the twinkling of an eye. So why not make the best of it right now?
Robert Hampton left Dan with something else as well, a natural gift for music. Dan's parlayed his talent into the Chicago Six, a group of Windy City musicians. But Dan Hampton is still a country boy at heart. Every off-season, he rushes back to his hometown of Cabot, Arkansas. Dan and his wife, Terry, own a sprawling ranch there, a far cry from the urban claustrophobia of Chicago.
It's an old dairy farm. 150 acres, I have about half of it allocated for the cattle. I've got about 25 head of cows. I spend a lot of time, maybe 1 or 2 days a week, monkeying around over there, building fence or handling the cows. I've got some friends that they've never asked me a question about football. Some guys that, you know, some people that cut hay for a living and this type of thing. And these people are what I really gravitate to because I was raised in the country.
This country rancher has never felt fully at ease in Chicago, which is another reason why the 33-year-old Hampton is retiring at season's end. His wife, Terry, knows Dan's next career may be in announcing because he's such a natural.
Guess what? Small world. Talking with Lisa all afternoon, and I found out she plays the piano, too.
Kind of.
Well, we'll see. Think you can help me out here? I haven't played with anyone in a while.
I'm going to give it a whirl here. Don't expect too much now, Dan.
It'll sound fine. It's closed.
What do you think? I have a career?
Know. Let's keep the day job, but as Dick says, practice makes perfect.
Yeah,
Let's do some more.
I think you're right.
How much does Dan Hampton mean to the Chicago Bears? In the last 2 years, with Hampton in the lineup, the Bears are 12-1, 2-10 when he is not. This season, Dan Hampton has played in every game. Nick, I'm surprised he can play the piano and the guitar with them old fingers with knuckles swollen up so large.
You know, Lenny, we know that with his 10 knee operations in 10 or 15 years from now, he is going to be in an awful lot of pain. And he's going to have a very tough time leading a healthy and productive life.
We saw Jim Otto, E.J. Holub in that feature. They are hurting today because of all of their operations. But they're special people. They never complained about it, and they do the same thing all over again. They're special like Dan Hampton.
Well, I agree with Dan Hampton's philosophy. Why walk away from something you love as long as you're helping your team win? You know, the only way the Bengals would have gotten rid of me was to do exactly what they did, and that was to cut me because I would have never retired. And it wasn't just the money. It was kind of the money.
Hey, listen to this young guy over here. He played 8 seasons. If he played as long as you and me, 15 and 19 seasons, they wouldn't have to worry about cutting that uniform off. He would go peacefully and quietly.
Lenny, I'll tell you, I was happy to retire after my last game. And people ask me, do you miss playing the game? And I could honestly say, no.
You know, Dan Hampton is retiring after the end of this season, and all Chicago Bears fans are going to remember him fondly for the contributions that he's made to that organization. Chicago is known as the Windy City, but Soldier Field wasn't the place where swirling winds played a factor. Even though NFL players are young and strong, it's still hard running against the wind.
Nothing warms the soul more than the old Bear fight song. Even an Atlanta coach or two joined the party. In fact, the Falcons warmed up all of the Windy City by bringing with them a lot of that southern hot air.
How you doing?
Terrific.
Haven't had you in a long time, huh?
I remember today is the Armistice Day. This is the day the war ended.
Let's start a new one today. We're here to start a new war. World War III.
There's enough people starting the war. You don't need to start a war.
Game of the week right here, baby, right here. Windy City. Stage is set. It's cold. They're scared. We're encouraged. Gonna knock them out, baby. We can, we saw, we conquered. Now kick some ass. Let's go, boys. Showtime for prime time. This is the man right here, baby. Nationwide. And we gonna win it for him today. Today. Yeah.
Atlanta boasted all week of carving up Chicago's so-called midget cornerbacks, of bashing the Bears in their own backyard, of running it up in Soldier Field. They talked a lot, but after a brief 3-0 lead, they couldn't walk their talk, as the Bears proved that actions speak louder than words.
Anderson slanting to the right. Anderson bouncing to the outside, gets by Jordan to the 5, to the end zone.
All right, that's enough right there. That's enough, baby. Tighten up. Here we go.
Running backs are split. Harbaugh takes, sets up short, pop flies to the right side of the end zone. Touchdown! What a catch! Sensational grab by Davis over the shoulder in the right corner of the end zone.
Brad Muster's 1-yard score made it 24-3 Chicago. The game was well in hand. Then it was time to teach a lesson. As for the allegedly sorry cornerback Lemuel Stinson, he picked off 2 of 4 interceptions.
Sets up now, rainbows the right side, and it's going to be intercepted by Stinson.
And Richard Dent had a few choice words for primetime.
Here we go, all right. You're going to kick it right there. Don't be scared. I'm going to show you what football all about. Here we go.
Unlike Atlanta, Dent backed up his word.
Joey Miller fakes the handoff. From Dent, and he's erased. Sacked by Richard Dent. Back at the 15-yard line.
Dent counted out the woozy visitors, then went face-to-face with Chris Miller one more time to force the play that humbled them for good.
Slot left, slot right in the red gun. Snap to Miller. Pumps once, now throws it upside down. Get on the play. Down the right sideline. Come on, Jackson. To the 10 of the 5.
He who laughs last, laughs best.
I wasn't going to do this, but I think I'm going to do it anyways. This is a very special day for me because we did win. We won the championship belt buckle.
The belts in Chicago were nothing compared to the big blows at the Meadowlands as the Jets set sail against a stiff wind and an even stingier element, the Miami Dolphins' #1 ranked defense. For the 3rd consecutive game, the Dolphins' defense did not yield a touchdown. But the pesky Jets were Miami's equal until a special team snafu cost them. Here, James Hasty allows the ball to hit his foot while blocking for Terrence Mathis, enabling Greg Beatty to recover and set up Miami's go-ahead touchdown. Tony Page's 3rd quarter touchdown helped the Dolphins to their 17-3 win, and at 8-1, Page and the Dolphins are playing with first-place confidence.
We're a group of guys who are committed to win on Sunday, and we lay it all on the line. And a lot of times things may not go our way, but we all hang together, we all stick in there, and most of the times we win. And that's what we've been able to do this year.
Needing a win to keep pace with the Dolphins, the Buffalo Bills took a lesson from the rich stadium faithful on exactly how to prepare a game face. Sunday's battle took on the look of a tribal war, albeit between Eskimos, with the first salvo being delivered by the Cardinals' Cedric Mack.
Hit by Cedric Mack. The ball is fumbled. It's loose at the 25. The Cardinals pick it up. Cedric Mack's got it at the 10 to the 6 and is tackled there.
Mack's forced fumble and recovery was the high point of an otherwise dismal afternoon for the Cardinals. On a day in which all of the scoring occurred when the offenses had a nearly 30-mile-an-hour wind at their backs, it was the Bills and Jim Kelly who were best able to take advantage. Kelly threw touchdown passes to 4 different receivers, including number 89, Steve Tasker, whose touchdown catch was his first reception in 5 seasons. Buffalo blew away Phoenix 45-14 as the Bills showcased all of the elements that have taken them to an 8-1 start and have them looking at an AFC East title and beyond. Coming up on Inside the NFL, Inside Info reports the latest on the Phoenix Super Bowl controversy. Where Are They Now spotlights former Broncos running back Floyd Little. And on Pigskin Potpourri, Ron Jaworski teaches football to women whose husbands have joined their rowdy friends on Monday night.
I think Ron Jaworski is performing a real public service trying to teach football widows how to enjoy the National Football League. Now, let's get back to the Buffalo Bills, a hot team in a cold city. Chris, the Bills have won 7 games in a row. Last year, they were the bickering Bills. They seem to have gotten their act together, and they're not pointing fingers at one another.
Yeah, that's a factor. But I think the biggest factor in the Bills' turnaround this season has been the maturing of Jim Kelly. He no longer thinks he's in the USFL where he has to throw 20 or 30 or 40 touchdown passes on a season in order for his team to be successful. Jim Kelly is playing within himself right now.
The Buffalo Bills are a different team. This year, they don't mind sharing the rewards. As a matter of fact, they don't care whose name appears in the headlines as long as it leads to a W.
Nick, maybe at the end of the year, they'll look back and say that whipping that Miami gave them, 30-7, the first time they met, was a turning point in their season. But there's another game coming up with the Dolphins. It'll take place on the 23rd of December.
And that game may well decide home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs. Don't forget the Buffalo Bills are 20-2 at home the past 3 years. So if they can manage to get the home field advantage in the playoffs, I don't think anybody's going to beat Buffalo in January in Buffalo.
Hey, I like the Dolphins a lot, but if they have to go up and play in sub-zero weather, poor playing conditions, then those fish are going to be like frozen mackerel. But you know, the irony of the Dolphins is they usually carry the sun with them up north.
Oh, I didn't know that. You heard it here, folks. Nick Bonacani says it will be warm in Buffalo in December. I think I'll write that down. I sure believe it. Oh, yes. William Shakespeare once wrote that the question was to be or not to be. But in the NFL, the question for the following teams with slumping quarterbacks is QB or not QB.
Jerry, did you look at that video I was talking about? You see what I'm talking about? Good. All right. Let's get on them quarterbacks' ass.
In Kansas City, pressure on the quarterback is the name of the game, and there's little question who causes the most tension for opposing passers.
Crowd is riled up. Now they're into it. Frank backpedals in his shotgun. He's back to throw. Hit at the goal line. Ball charge free. Fumble. Recovered by Kansas City. Touchdown, Kansas City. Touchdown, Dan Saliamua. Oh, what a play!
You know where they're going to throw the slants. They're going to throw the slants. Yeah, but they're going to throw them on our right.
On our right.
Maybe 88.
And motion the receiver. Back to pass, Craig. They set the blitz. Sidearm pass caught at the 50-yard line by Chadwick. He's at the 46, exits the field, the 30. Wow, what a run. He weaved his way by defenders. Touchdown, Seattle Seahawks.
The tackling is the only thing that's sloppy.
The Chiefs did find a matchup that agreed with them. Derek Thomas against any Seahawk blocker. When backs proved insufficient, Seattle tried linemen.
Straight back to pass on first down. In trouble, and down he goes. Derek Thomas got him.
Jerry, good job. Get on that quarterback, man.
You got him up the field once, you got him inside once, didn't you? Good. Keep working on it.
Now you ought to get him, he'll be rocking on you.
Thomas had so many moves that by day's end he set an NFL single-game record with 7 sacks.
Another sack for Derek Thomas.
What's new?
That's 8 sacks today for Kansas City.
They have 3 timeouts, so we can only run 9 seconds off clock, so we got to make a first down. Go after it, make first down. And what do they have, Tom?
3 left. Bob, check with me.
Hey.
0 near.
Steve, 1 first down and we got it.
Leading by 6 points with less than a minute remaining, the Chiefs failed to pick up a first down. Seattle hadn't won in Kansas City in 10 years, and some could foresee the inevitable staring them in the face.
Rock! Kevin! Rock! Kevin! Rock!
Last play of the ball game. Snap to Craig. Back to pass. Derek Thomas comes in, and Craig breaks the tackle of Thomas. Craig throws in the end zone. It's caught. Touchdown, Seattle. I don't believe it. Touchdown, Seattle.
Unbelievable. The crowd absolutely nailed to the seat. The Kansas City Chiefs can't believe it. Game's over. I don't think the coaching staff on the sideline can believe it right now. Paul Scanzi comes up with the catch of his life. He slipped away from Thomas. Craig back, throws it. One in the end zone. Touchdown. Touchdown, Seahawks. It is caught in the end zone. The Seahawks are going to win the ball game as Scanzi got it. Scanzi caught the ball in the end zone in a crowd. And that's the last play of the game.
It was unbelievably boring in Foxborough Sunday as two of the AFC's worst teams battled for sole possession of last place in their division. In the first half, the Colts gained only 34 total yards. But with the arm of the NFL's most expensive rookie, Indianapolis finally cashed in.
Long count, drops to throw, sets up, looks, throws to the end zone. Touchdown! Touchdown, Colts!
Like the Colts, many teams are mortgaging their future on high-priced quarterbacks. And in Dallas, the Cowboys' Troy Aikman discovered his protection was in a recession. The 49ers did everything but undress Aikman. Well, totally, that is. After completing only 9 of 21 passes, Aikman collected his gear and headed home to an unfriendly reception. An improved defense has given Dallas a reason to cheer this season, and San Francisco's rushing attack was rendered useless. Until Roger Craig returns to full strength, all the 49ers can depend on is a passing combination that makes every defender weak in the knees.
Jerry Rice out to the left side. And he's got a chance against Kenneth Gant as Montana goes back to throw. Across the middle to Rice. He caught it. The touchdown for the 49ers over Gant on a post pattern. And it was close. He was very close to going out across the end line. It's a 7-yard touchdown pass. Steps up quickly, steps back, rolls to his left, fakes, starts to run, trying to get there. He dives at the touchdown for Joe Montana and the 49ers.
QB or not QB becomes an irrelevant question when Joe Montana is the answer.
The Dallas Cowboys have improved, but it's still a long ways back for America's team. They're 0-5 against the other teams in the NFC East. On top of that, their quarterback, Troy Aikman, is not looking too good. Speaking of Dallas, that's where the owners are having a special meeting right now. Also, that's where we find Gary Myers. Gary, one of the questions is Phoenix, the situation there with the Super Bowl. What's the latest on that?
Well, I spoke to Commissioner Paul Tagliabue, and he's basically set a March meeting for Arizona to come up with the King holiday. In March, the league will have its winter meetings, and if Arizona doesn't have the King holiday, then they will reassign the Super Bowl in 1993. Now, what are the chances that Arizona will come up with a King holiday by then? In the next few days, the state legislature will meet, and in that meeting, there's an outside chance, a very slim chance, that they'll enact the King holiday without a state referendum for the voters to vote on it. But there's a very slim chance. I'd say the Super Bowl is lost for Arizona.
All right, speaking of the commissioner, I hope you had the opportunity to talk to him about instant replay, because the three of us on this set, Chris, Nick, and myself, we all say get rid of it right now. What does he say about it?
Well, Lenny, it's nice to know that you're consistent about instant replay. You've been saying the same thing for a couple of years. Unfortunately for you, Paul Tagliabue is still very much behind instant replay. In fact, he said nothing will happen with instant replay or with the officials until February 1st when Jerry Seaman is the new supervisor of officials. But as long as Tagliabue is behind instant replay, it will continue to pass year after year after year, and right now, that's how he feels.
And the three of us will continue to say, get rid of it, get rid of it, get rid of it. Hey, the commissioner's going to have a busy week because he has a date with Dexter Manley regarding whether he will be reinstated or not. Did you talk to the commissioner about Dexter?
Yes, he said he's going to meet in his office in New York on Friday with Manley, and he told me that he'll have a decision on Monday. Chances are Manley will be reinstated after the one-year suspension, and the Redskins absolutely do not want Manley back, which means, because we're past the trading deadline, he'll be a free agent. One thing to keep in mind, in August, the Redskins tried to trade Manley. They had gotten permission from the league to do it while he was on suspension, but nobody wanted him. But I would think when he's a free agent, somebody will want a pass rusher for the stretch run in the final 6 games.
Well, I think that anybody that can rush the passer like Dexter Manley, that somebody down the stretch that hopes for a championship will want him on their squad. Now, the draft as we know it, according to the Players Association, is over after 1992. What's the latest on that situation?
Well, the Players Association claims management loses its antitrust exemption after 1992, and there'll be total chaos because a lawsuit will be filed to declare the draft illegal. What I think will happen is that management, like they did with Plan B to try to please the courts, will also come up with a system to try to please the courts on the draft, and that could mean cutting the draft from 12 rounds down to 6 rounds. The union's going to look for a new system such as a player has the opportunity to be drafted by an NFC team and an AFC team, which will give him more leverage to pick the team he wants to play for. But in any event, there could be a change.
Let's talk about a couple of guys that used to coach with the Cowboys, Dan Reeves and Mike Ditka. The two squads will be meeting this week. What about those two guys?
Well, there has been a lot of speculation that neither coach will be back next year, but Ditka definitely will be back. He's already talking to Mike McCaskey, the Bears president, about a new 3-year contract. And Reeves, a couple of weeks ago after they had lost to Pittsburgh, he actually cried at a team meeting because the team was going so poorly. They're 3-6. But Reeves has reiterated that he plans to coach until the year 2000. So I think both of these guys who will meet each other on Sunday will be back in 1991.
All right, thank you very much, and you'll be back with us next week in New York. Thank you very much, Gary. Floyd Little is the subject of this week's Where Are They Now? Now, Floyd and I left football the same year after the 1975 season, so I remember him very, very well. When he retired, Little was the 7th leading rusher of all time. Kurt Gowdy takes a look back at this all-time great Denver Bronco.
Like a rolling stone, Floyd Little rolls onward, gathering no moss. Precious few defensive players could trap the elusive Little, who played 9 seasons with the Broncos. He's still their all-time leading rusher. Not bad for a bow-legged running back many said would never amount to much.
I've always been told all my life I was not big enough, strong enough, or fast enough, or smart enough. And that's the biggest motivator. You want to motivate me, and you tell me I cannot. Every time I carry the ball, I want to just ram it down all those doubters' throats. How dare you judge me by somebody else's standards? How dare you classify me or pigeonhole me for those that fell short of their mark? I'm an individual, and I should be treated as such, and I should be rated on my own performances and not anybody else's.
When Little retired in 1975, he kept going full bore, right into business. He bought a Lincoln Mercury dealership in Los Angeles, where he works just as hard now as when he was a player.
When I took that ball, it was an attitude that I had. I would talk to myself. I say, Floyd, this is the last time you're going to carry this football. What do you want to do with it? A couple of times I thought it was the last time, but that was my attitude. This is the last time I'm going to carry the football. And I do that in everything I do. I do it here. This is the last day I'm going to be at the dealership. This is the last meeting I'm going to have. This is the last time I'm going to do everything. And it's just an attitude that helps me do the very best I can every opportunity I can do it. We need to break out of this month, I think. Traditionally, May has been pretty decent for us.
Floyd doesn't take the opportunity to use his status as a selling point. You won't see big billboards with the name Floyd Little splashed all around the lot.
I wanted it to come to me not because of a football player, because I'm no longer a football player anymore. I want him to come to me because I have a good, solid name in the community, and I'm a good businessman, and I will treat you right.
Floyd cares for others as well. He's heavily involved in a plan which could create affordable housing for the needy.
Today, with the cost of housing, the average person can't buy a house. It's the most expensive thing you can buy. Now there's a way that we are going to be able to build an affordable house, a turnkey operation, for somewhere between $15,000 to $18,000.
At the end of his day, Floyd's still a bucking Bronco. He works hard to keep his body in football playing shape, then spends his evenings with his college-bound daughter, Felicia. At 50 years old, Little seems to have his busy life in order.
There's nothing not to be happy about. Every time I wake up in the morning, I got air breathing through my lungs. I got another chance to reach my dreams in life and fulfill my goals.
And the goals are many for this Rolling Stone.
Floyd Little, he is one of the nicest and one of the toughest men I have ever met. He was the entire offense for the Broncos for a number of years. He carried the ball all the time, and boy, did he get beat up. But, gentlemen, he almost got fired, or he did get fired. Lou Saban was the coach. In the fourth quarter, he fired him. He says, you're out of here. He sent the reserve running back in. He said, don't let Floyd in the huddle. Well, after one play, Floyd went in. The guy said, please, Floyd, I got a wife and 2 kids to support. Don't take me out of here. He said, get out of here. He told the quarterback to throw him the ball. He did. He scored a touchdown. On his way past Lou Saban, Lou still said, you're still fired.
Did you see those bow legs?
Oh, yeah.
If they ever straightened him out, he'd be 6'3". But when we prepared for the Denver Broncos, Floyd Little was the whole story.
Well, Lenny, I heard you say earlier in the show that you retired the same year that Floyd Little did. I was just wondering, When's the last time you went roller skating?
I'm surprised you asked that. My wife Linda and me, we went roller skating,
Get
working
out
on
of
our
here.
dance
You
steps
did
just the other
not.
day.
You did not. Well, if you guys are out there roller skating all this time, do you get a chance to watch football ever? I know that, you know, with the picks you've had this year.
As good a roller skater as Linda is, she's a better football person. She could even coach.
Hey, if Marty Schottenheimer slips as head coach of the Chiefs, we know who will be the next head coach. It won't be you. It'll be your wife, Linda. But she probably doesn't have to learn an awful lot about the game of football. But there are a lot of women who would just love to learn about the game of football. And if you're one of them, you'll just love our pigskin potpourri. You may remember this mad professor as Ron Jaworski, the Polish rifle who quarterbacked the Rams, Eagles, and Chiefs. Now, these days, Jaws gives weekly football clinics at the country club he owns in South Central New Jersey. But there's something unusual about the gender makeup of his students. They're all women, every one of them. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Ron wasn't even the one who came up with this plan.
Well, actually, it was my wife's idea. She really felt that a lot of ladies were not familiar with the game of football, and they wanted to learn it. Their husbands are watching games, talking about games, and she thought it'd be a great idea to do this clinic. It's really a primer course. I really don't get too elaborate with what we do. It's we stick to the basics, but I want them to learn the game. You know, probably by week 16, we'll be into safety blitzes and nickel coverages and things like that, but it's a lot of fun.
Jaworski may think he's conducting a beginner's course, but man, this stuff can get complicated.
Normally, these 4 guys will run. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 guys to block them. You're all covered.
So why are all these ladies interested in learning about football?
My impression of football is that a bunch of guys line up on the field, they bend over and throw a ball. They all run around and all fall down, and you wait 10 minutes for them to all line up again.
When I hear some of the language that the commentators will use on TV, I ask myself, what are they talking about? What specifically does that mean? And coming to this clinic and having Ron Jaworski explain it has helped me in that regard, so I really know exactly, if you're talking about a blitz or a red dog, I know it's the same thing, something like that, so it's good.
So they come here to be able to learn the game better. But does it work? Do they really learn anything at this clinic?
I thought after last week's clinic, we really had a great week, you know, and they left here all fired up, and I'm walking out, going downstairs to watch the Monday night game, and one of the ladies said, boy, I can't wait to watch them Buffalo Rams tonight, you know, and I said, oh, boy, I guess I really didn't get my point across. I better go back to square one.
And Ron, you thought facing a safety blitz was tough. But hey, you give those ladies a chance, and they are going to learn in a hurry. They'll be the best fans the NFL ever had.
You're absolutely right. Women are that way. Now, Nick, I want to congratulate you for the Walter Camp Awards. You received it this year.
Absolutely.
Illustrious company, Chris. Now, people like Otto Graham is in there. You've got your old coach Don Shula, Paul Brown, and Roger Staubach. And this has to do with not only accomplishments on the football field, but what he has accomplished off the field, and particularly the Miami Project. Congratulations on that.
Thank you, Lenny. It's a great honor. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
We got to congratulate him again, you know, on how he does every week. He beats us like a drum on the pick.
Congratulations to you. We got a tie this week. How about that one?
All right, how are we doing for the year? How far away are we?
Well, you guys are close. A little closer than I like. I'm going to put a little
that's his number, 85. He's finished, folks, because that was his number. He'll never go beyond that. Now, here are some of the games that we agree on for this week. We think the Giants should have no problem with Detroit. Buffalo over New England. The 49ers downing Tampa Bay. Chicago defeating Denver. Green Bay over Phoenix. Houston downing Cleveland. And now for the rest of the games. Dallas at Los Angeles. I started with you last week. Chris, I'm going to do the same thing, but our luck might get better. What do you think?
Well, Dallas, they have one of the worst offenses in the league, and the Rams have one of the worst defenses. But the Rams have been playing a little better here lately, so I'm going to take them at home.
Well, they didn't play better last week, I don't believe, against the New York Giants, but Dallas, Troy Aikman has got to grow up pretty soon. He's had enough time at that quarterback to become a little bit more mature, but I like the Rams because they're playing them at home.
Well, I'm going to go for Dallas. I mean, they've got to get something. Who would have thought at the beginning of the year you'd say that Dallas will beat the Rams? Well, I'm saying it right here, folks. Minnesota at Seattle, Nick.
Well, Seattle had that great upset win over Kansas City. Minnesota's starting to play good. That defense is hot now. They're starting to hum. Gannon, average quarterback. I like Seattle. They're playing up in the Kingdom. I'm not going to pick against that team up there.
Well, the Vikings have never beaten the Seahawks in the Kingdom up there, and they're not going to do it this weekend either. I like Seattle.
Well, I don't necessarily think that. Minnesota plays in a dome, folks, just like Seattle does. I'm going with Minnesota. New Orleans at Washington, Chris.
I'll tell you, the Saints are really playing better. Hayward is really leading the charge with that running game up there. I'm tempted. but I don't think so. The Redskins have one of the best defenses in the league, and I'm going to take the Redskins.
Well, they better hope that Mark Rippon comes back to play quarterback because they don't have a quarterback as far as I can see. I like New Orleans. I like the defense. Those linebackers are going to be in that quarterback's face all day long. I'm picking the Saints in an upset over the
I am
Redskins.
picking the Saints as well because of that defense. We've got the New York Jets at the Colts, Nick.
Well, the New York Jets have just been terrible on offense. Defensively, they're playing good football. Indianapolis is not much better, but they are playing at home. Sooner or later, Dickerson may decide to play and play well. I'm taking Indianapolis.
Ron Meyer really has the Colts playing hard up there, but they're just not that talented a football team right now. I'm taking the Jets.
Well, I think you're right, the Jets, because, you know, Dickerson didn't show much last week at all. Philadelphia at Atlanta. Chris, the Phillies are coming on now.
Well, the Eagles have finally put that defense together. They, on Monday night, they were simply outstanding, and that's the way the Eagles defense can play up there. But the Falcons at home are something special. I don't know what it is about Jerry Glanville. When he plays at home, he gets his team ready to play. I think they'll win.
You like Atlanta?
He likes Atlanta. Don't you?
Write that one down,
Don't
too.
you? I'm writing that down.
Weather. No, Philadelphia, that defense is coming on so strong. And Randall Cunningham, I don't think is having a great year, but Randall Cunningham is having a good year, and that's all he needs for those Eagles to win.
All he has to do is not give up the ball because that defense will keep him in there. I like Philadelphia. San Diego at Kansas City. Hey, this is going to be an interesting game.
Boy, this is a tough ball game to
How about
pick.
the offense of the Chiefs?
The offense of the Chiefs smells. And the offense of San Diego is very good. And the defense of San Diego is very good. But I have to believe that Marty Schottenheimer is going to get this team ready to play this week. I'm not taking anything away against the Chargers because they are a good football team, but I'm going to take the Chiefs. That's right.
Well, the Chargers have beaten the Chiefs the last 5 times, but this is kind of the last hope for the Kansas City Chiefs. If they can't win this football game, they're going to be out of it. I think they'll be ready to play.
I think the Chiefs will score a touchdown the first time in 11 quarters. The Chiefs will win that. We got Pittsburgh at Cincinnati.
Well, this is the first time that the Bengals have had all their people healthy and ready to go, but the Pittsburgh Steelers too tough. I'm taking the Steelers.
Well, Cincinnati's playing at home, and I can't believe you're not taking your ex-team at home. But I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers because somehow, some way, these guys have got it together.
They're doing what they did a year ago. They're getting better as the season goes along. Pittsburgh will win that game. Monday Night Football, we got the Raiders at Miami, Nick.
Well, Miami is just playing great defense. Marino does what he has to do. The running game is good enough to beat the Raiders. I like Miami.
Miami at home too tough. I think they're going to come up with that big showdown with the Buffalo Bills with only 1 loss. I like Miami.
I like Miami. I like to be there because it's nice and warm, but I like them winning over the Raiders. All right. There you have it, folks. That's our show. For Nick Bonacani, Chris Collinsworth, I'm Len Dawson. Thanks for watching us, and we'll see you again next week on Inside the NFL.
I was a quarterback with the Browns for 10 years and a forward with the Rochester Royals. Watch HBO's Inside the NFL next week to see where I am now.
In rural Louisiana,